Okay, so good day, class. Today we are going to discuss the second part of our lecture on the cell. For this lecture, we are going to put focus on the nucleus, the cell cycle, the different cell divisions, as well as apoptosis. Our nucleus class is known as the command center of the cell. So it acts as the cell's brain by telling it what to do, how to grow, and when to reproduce. So our nucleus contains the molecular machinery to replicate the DNA and to synthesize and process all types of RNA. So our nucleus appears as a large rounded or oval structure often found near the center of the cell. Our nucleus class has two main functions. First is for cellular regulation. Kasi yung nucleus natin houses our DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid, which is the cell's hereditary material. Second function naman is for ribosomal subunit production, since our nucleus is also responsible for the production of ribosomal subunits that are being exported to the cytoplasm for assembly into ribosomes. Now that we are done discussing the functions of our nucleus, let's have its components. First, we have here our nuclear envelope. So our nuclear envelope class forms a selectively permeable barrier between the nuclear and cytoplasmic compartment. So itong nucleus natin, it is surrounded by two separate membranes. So the outer nuclear membrane and the inner nuclear membrane. These two membranes class separates again our nucleus from our cytoplasm. So these two concentric membranes are separated by a narrow perinuclear space, as you can see here in our illustration. So the inner nuclear membrane class is a highly organized meshwork of proteins called the nuclear lamina. So our nuclear lamina stabilizes our nuclear envelope. And then for our outer nuclear membrane naman, so our outer nuclear membrane are continuous with the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now I want you to note that this connection is very important because it allows for the direct exchange of materials between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. So the ribosomes attached to the outer nuclear membrane, forming the rough ER, are involved in the synthesis of proteins, some of which may be involved in the nuclear functions. So the inner and outer nuclear membranes class are bridged by nuclear pore complexes. So these pore complexes class regulates the movement of macromolecules between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. So this includes the transport of your messenger RNA that are produced in the nucleus but is needed to be transported to the cytoplasm for it to be translated into protein, as well as yung transport naman ng proteins such as your polymerases from the cytoplasm to the nucleus for the conversion of DNA to RNA. Now let's go to your nucleolus. So your nucleolus class is the center of your nucleus. So it is spherical, highly basophilic subdomain of nucleus cells which actively starts the synthesis of your proteins by synthesizing ribosomal RNA, which makes up most of the ribosome. So our nucleolus also happens to be the site of ribosome assembly before the fully formed ribosome goes out to the cytoplasm. So let us take note that our nucleolus again exhibits intense basophilia due to the presence of densely concentrated ribosomal RNA. Now let's discuss your chromatin. So your chromatin is consists of DNA and all the associated proteins involved in the organization and function of our DNA. So in humans, each cell's chromatin, except that of eggs and sperm, is divided among 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs. So there are two types of chromatin class. We have heterochromatin and euchromatin. So these types of chromatins does not only differ in their mechanical properties. So they also differ on how they appear in the microscope. For heterochromatin, no, they appear as coarse, electron-dense material in the electron microscope and as intensely basophilic clumps in the light microscope. Itong euchromatin naman appears as finely dispersed granular material in the electron microscope and as lightly stained basophilic areas in the light microscope. So our heterochromatin class is more abundant in cells with little synthetic activity, such as your lymphocytes. While your euchromatin naman predominates active cells, such as your neurons. So our heterochromatin class is always more compact than euchromatin and shows little to no transcriptional activity and includes at least two types of genomic material called your constitutive and facultative heterochromatin. In this table shown here, class, I want you to remember these points. So in heterochromatin, always remember that our DNA is compacted together. Again, our DNA is compacted together. Hence, there is no individual strands accessible to our proteins. Kasi nga, compact siya, naka-coil ang ating mga DNA. So, since hindi accessible itong ating DNA sa mga protein natin, those genes remain turned off, making our heterochromatin, making the DNA in our heterochromatin transcriptionally inactive. Now, kabaliktaran naman yan si euchromatin because in euchromatin class, our DNA is uncoiled. Therefore, it is in a relaxed state. So, contrary to heterochromatin, DNA in euchromatin are accessible to DNA reading proteins, making it transcriptionally active. So our DNA in chromatin is extensively packaged by basic proteins called histones that provide structural support for a chromosome. After DNA replication, two chromatids held together by complexes of cohesin proteins make up each chromosome. So let us take note that our chromatin again is made up of DNA and histones, which are protein in nature. So it serves as a storage form of genetic material when the cell is not dividing. Now, class, when the cell is preparing to divide, our chromatin would condense and coil up tightly to form our chromosome. So each of our chromosome duplicates, forming two identical chromatids attached at a centromere. So during cell division, these chromatids separate and become individual chromosomes in new cells. So again, a chromosome is made up of two identical sister chromatids, and each sister chromatid is joined by a centromere, ay ang yellow na circle sa gitna. So a copy of each chromosome is inherited from a male parent and a female parent. So this explains the character traits possessed by the offspring. So such as facial features that are reminiscent sa kanilang parents. So again lang, para hindi na tayo malito, a chromosome is a complete DNA structure that is consist of two chromatids. So ang chromosome natin visible during cell division. A chromatid naman is one of the two identical copies of a chromosome formed after DNA replication. And they are again joined by a centromere before being separated during cell division. So the X and Y sex chromosomes contains genes determining whether an individual will develop as a female or a male. So in addition to the pair of sex chromosomes, cells contain 22 pairs of autosomes. So autosomes class, contrary to your sex chromosomes, they do not determine sex. Again, uulitin ko lang, in humans, we have a total of 46 chromosomes arranged in 23 pairs. Out of these, 22 pairs are autosomes. So meaning hindi sila nagdedetermine ng sex, while the remaining one pair is consist of sex chromosomes. XX sa female at XY naman sa male. So each of these pairs of chromosomes contain one chromosome originally derived from the mother and one derived from the father. So the members of each chromosomal pair are said to be homologous with each other. Cells in the human body contains different numbers of chromosomes depending on their function. So the term diploid and haploid describes the number of chromosome sets in a cell. So a diploid cell, this one, a diploid cell has two sets of chromosomes. So one inherited from the mother and one set from the father. Example are our somatic or body cells, including our skin, muscle, and nerve cells. So itong haploid naman class has only one set of chromosomes. So it is half the number of your diploid cell. Example of that one are your gametes, your sperm and egg cells. So haploid cells are produced through meiosis to ensure that when a sperm and the egg unite during fertilization, the resulting zygote has the correct diploid number, which is 46 chromosome. Before differentiation class, most cells undergo repeated cycles of macromolecular synthesis and division. So the regular sequence of events that results in new cells is termed as the cell cycle. In addition, the cell cycle is the process by which a cell grows, prepares for division, and eventually splits into two daughter cells. So this cycle ensures that our bodies would grow, would repair damaged tissues, and replace old or dead cells. There are four phases of the cell cycle. Now, first, let's discuss interphase. So, si interphase class, it contains three subphases, G1, S phase, and G2 phase. So, our interphase is considerably longer than our M phase and is the period during which the cell doubles in size and DNA content. So, in this phase, our cell would grow, would carry out its normal functions, and would prepare for division. Specifically, in G1. So during G1 phase, also called as the first gap phase, the cell grows physically larger, copies its organelles, and makes the molecular building blocks it needs during the later steps. So it is longest class and most variable phase of the cycle. So it is the period of active RNA and protein synthesis, including proteins controlling progress through the cell cycle. Now let's have our S phase or our synthesis phase. So in synthesis phase class, the cell makes an exact copy of its DNA so that each new cell gets the same genetic material. At the end of this phase, each chromosome consists of two identical sister chromatids joins at a centromere. During the second gap phase or G2 phase, the cell grows more, no? It makes more proteins and organelles and begins to reorganize its content in preparation for mitosis. Now, G2 phase ends when mitosis begins. However, class, if the conditions are unfavorable, the cell would enter to a resting state called your G0, wherein the cell cycle activities may be temporarily or permanently suspended. Now, class, we have here our cycle checkpoints. So our cell cycle checkpoints are control mechanisms that ensure that the cell progresses through the cycle in an orderly and error-free manner. So these checkpoints monitor the cell size, DNA integrity, and chromosome alignment before allowing the cell to move to the next phase. So if errors are detected, class, the cell can either pause for repair or undergo apoptosis, or what we call programmed cell death, to prevent damage from being passed on. In this illustration, we can see that each phase of the cell cycle has one or more checkpoints where the quality of specific cell activities is checked. So progression to the next phase of the cycle does not occur until all activities of the preceding phase are completed satisfactorily. So overall class, the progression in the cycle is regulated by proteins called cyclins and cyclin-dependent kinases that phosphorylates or activate enzymes and other proteins needed for phase-specific function. So here are the major cyclin and cyclin-dependent kinase that regulates the human cell cycle. Now let's go to your mitosis. So once the cell has completed interphase, it enters mitosis, the process of dividing the cell equally between two daughter cells. So this phase is divided into four main stages, followed by cytokinesis or the cell splitting process. During prophase class, our chromatin condenses into visible chromosomes. Here, the nuclear membrane breaks down, causing the nucleolus and nuclear envelope to start disappearing, hence allowing our chromosome to move freely. So our spindle fibers, the protein structures of our cell begin to form, attaching to chromosomes at the centromere to help pull chromosomes apart during the next phases. So why is prophase important? It's because your prophase would prepare your chromosomes for proper alignment and separation. In your metaphase naman class, your chromosomes would condense further and attach to the mitotic spindle at large electron-dense protein complexes called your kinetochores at each centromere. So itong chromosome, again, magla-line up sila sa iyong metaphase plate, the center of your cell. Okay, so the cell is now more spherical and the chromosomes are moved to align at its equatorial plane. Our metaphase is important, class, no, to ensure that equal chromosome distribution would happen between your daughter cells. Now, in your anaphase naman, your sister chromatids would separate and would move toward opposite spindle poles by a combination of microtubule motor proteins. So, once separated, each chromatid is now an individual chromosome. Again, once separated during your anaphase, each chromatid is now an individual chromosome. Now, during telophase naman, class, the two sets of your chromosomes are at the spindle poles and begins reverting to their condensed state. So your spindle fiber would polymerize and the nuclear envelope begins to reassemble around each set of daughter chromosomes. And after that one, your cytokinesis would occur at the end of telophase. As a review lang, class, our cytokinesis is the process where the cytoplasm gets divided to produce two independent daughter cells, each containing a complete set of chromosome. So here is the illustration of the mitosis. And this one here is a microscopic illustration of the same process. Now let's go to meiosis. So meiosis is a special type of cell division that occurs in sexually reproducing organisms to produce gametes, your sperm and egg cells in animals, no, and pollen and ovules in plants. So it reduces the chromosome number by half, ensuring that offspring have the correct number of chromosomes when sperm and egg unite during fertilization. So our meiosis, class, again, is the process that converts diploid nuclei to haploid nuclei. Konting recap lang sa na-discuss natin kanina, your diploid cells have two sets of chromosomes while your haploid cells have only one set of chromosomes. So your meiosis occurs in the sex organs producing again gametes, your sperms and eggs. So through fertilization, class, let's focus on this illustration. Through fertilization, the zygote, which is formed during the fusion of a sperm and the egg, will now have a diploid chromosome number, one from each parent, combining their genetic material. So from the product na 23 chromosomes, magiging 46 na siya. Kasi again, one set from each parent, from the mother and the father. So our meiosis, class, is consist of two successive divisions. So for meiosis 1, its goal is to reduce the chromosome number from diploid to N to haploid or N. Now for meiosis 2 naman, its objective is similar to mitosis, but its result would be 4 genetically unique haploid cells. During meiosis 1, class, we are going to include your interphase. Okay, so now let's have our meiosis 1, interphase 1. So interphase 1 is the preparatory phase before meiosis 1, where again the cell grows, duplicates its DNA, and prepares for division. It is similar to the interphase in mitosis and consists of three subphases. So in meiosis 1, prophase 1 class, it is important to note that prophase 1 starts with a diploid cell. Its chromatin contains two uncoiled chromosomes. Now these chromosomes would coil and become individual chromosomes. So in a process called synapsis, each chromosome pairs up and binds to its corresponding homologous chromosome, forming a tetrad. Now we have also a process called crossing over, wherein chromatids from each homologous chromosome exchange segments of alleles to ensure genetic variation. Okay, so crossing over class, remember that it randomly happens to every chromosome, resulting to different gene combinations, hence creating genetic variety in offspring. So this explains why every gamete is different from each other. So also pala, in addition, in prophase 1, as the nuclear membrane disappears, the centrioles move to opposite ends of the cell. Now, class, we have here meiosis 1, metaphase 1. So in metaphase 1, homologous chromosomes line up at the equator and attaches to the spindle fibers from opposite poles by means of the kinetochore of the centromere. In meiosis 1, anaphase 1, spindle fibers separate the homologous chromosome in each tetrad and pulls them to opposite poles of the cell. In meiosis 1, telophase 1, the duplicated chromosomes will now have reached the poles of our cells, and the nuclear envelope and nucleolus would reform around the chromosome. So each nucleus now has the haploid number of chromosome. Cell would invaginate, forming a cleavage furrow which extends for two separate haploid cells. So after that, the cell would undergo cytokinesis again that would divide the cell into two haploid daughter cells. So meiosis 1 ends with two genetically different haploid cells. Now let's go to your meiosis 2 prophase 2. So in meiosis 2 prophase 2, both your cells would now enter the process. However, class, unlike meiosis 1, DNA does not replicate before meiosis 2 begins because again, wala na tayong interface sa ating meiosis 2. So in prophase 2, the nuclear membrane would disappear and the centrioles would move to opposite poles, forming spindle fibers between them. In meiosis 2 metaphase 2 naman, the chromosomes in each cell would line up at the equator and attach to the spindle fibers from both poles by means again of kinetochore of centromere. For meiosis 2 anaphase 2, the sister chromatids of each chromosome would separate and move to the opposite pole. And in meiosis 2 telophase 2, the spindle fibers would disappear and the nuclear envelope and nucleolus would form around the chromatin again. Then, once again, our cytokinesis would occur. So meiosis 2 would end with 4 genetically different haploid daughter cells, each containing only one set of chromosome. So this is an illustration of your meiosis. Now, class, always remember that our mitosis and meiosis both begin with diploid parent cells that have chromosomes duplicated during the previous interphase. However, the end product differ because mitosis produces two genetically identical diploid somatic daughter cells, while our meiosis would produce 4 genetically unique haploid gametes. So now, class, let's discuss your apoptosis. So apoptosis comes from the Greek word apo, which means off, and tosis, which means a falling. So it is a process of cell suicide. Now, I want you to remember, class, that apoptotic cells do not rupture and release none of their contents, unlike cells that dies because of injury and undergo necrosis. So apoptosis is a controlled process. So again, it is a controlled process. So unlike your necrosis, which is a form of accidental cell death caused by injury or stress, your apoptosis is a planned event where the cell actively participate in its own death. So it involves a cascade of events controlled by the BCL2 family of proteins regulating the release of death-promoting factors from mitochondria. So again, class has, since apoptotic cells do not rupture and release none of their contents, wala po tayong local inflammation or any reactions in the tissue. So again, apoptosis is controlled by cytoplasmic proteins in the BCL2 family, which regulates the release of death-promoting factors from mitochondria. So activated by their external signals or irreversible internal damage, specific BCL2 proteins induce a process with the following features. First, the loss of mitochondrial function and caspase activation. So si BCL2 proteins would release cytochrome C into the cytoplasm where it activates proteolytic enzymes called your caspases. Number 2, another feature of your BCL2 protein-induced damage, fragmentation of DNA. So in the process of fragmentation of DNA, your endonucleases are activated, which cleaves DNA between nucleosomes into small fragments. Third feature is the shrinkage of nuclear and cell volumes. So this refers to the destruction of the cytoskeleton and chromatin that causes the cell to shrink quickly. Now, fourth feature is the changes of the cell membrane. So the plasma membrane of the shrinking cell would undergo dramatic shape changes such as blebbing or the irregular bulge in the plasma membrane in your cell. For its fifth feature naman is the formation and phagocytic removal. So the membrane-bound remnants of cytoplasm and nucleus would separate as very small apoptotic bodies. So this is the sequence of events in your apoptosis. So in this illustration, you can see that there are really changes that occurs during apoptosis, no? So here's a morphological feature of viable versus apoptotic cells under phase contrast microscopy. So again, I want you to remember apoptosis is a programmed cell death. Again, it is a programmed cell death. So that is the end of our lecture for today. And next meeting, don't forget that it is quiz time.